Hello everyone and welcome back to another What's So Shiok video review. So today I'll be taking a look at the UNDONE Batman Caped Crusader, one of two Batman watches that UNDONE has released in collaboration with DC Comics to commemorate Batman's 80th anniversary. So as mentioned, the one that I have here is called the Caped Crusader. So it features this black and yellow color scheme. The other variant is called the Dark Knight, which features a more monochrome greyish color scheme. Now let's first talk about the specifications. So the UNDONE Caped Crusader uses a K1 dome crystal. So unlike mineral crystal, K1 crystal is more durable and more scratch resistant. However, unlike a sapphire crystal, it's still nowhere as scratch resistant as a sapphire crystal would be. I'll admit that it's a slight disappointment. I preferred them to use sapphire crystal, of course, but given its low price point, so the UNDONE Caped Crusader is about 300 USD, about 450 Sing. At its price point, a lot of other watches, for example the Seiko 5 series, don't use sapphire as well. So while it's a slight disappointment, it's not a deal breaker by any means. Next, I want to highlight that the UNDONE Caped Crusader actually uses a grade 2 titanium case, which renders it very light on the wrist. It's like a feather really. So grade 2 titanium is pure titanium, it's not an alloy. And once when you think of grade 2 titanium watches, one often think of Hublot or Richard Mille or perhaps the Bulgari Octo Finissimo, watches at a much higher price point than the UNDONE Caped Crusader that we have here. So I will give props to UNDONE for managing to include and feature a blasted titanium case, so there's a very nice utilitarian blasted finishing. So I will give them props for being able to include a titanium case at this low price point. On to the movement itself, the movement is actually a Seiko VK64 Mecha-quartz movement. So being a Mecha-quartz movement, when I start the chronograph function, you can see that the second hand sweep like a mechanical chronograph would. So to reset the movement, I simply have to push the top pusher and the bottom pusher to reset it. Yeah. So being a quartz movement, it's battery regulated, so you don't need to set the time, wind the watch, etc. All you need to do is change the battery when it runs out. But because it's a Mecha-quartz movement, it has a cam and lever to operate the chronograph function, which results in that sweeping second hand as you've seen earlier. Now on to the strap. So the UNDONE Caped Crusader comes in this nice Cordura strap that we have here. What I like about it is that it has yellow stitching which matches the black and yellow color scheme of the watch. Now, as I said before in my previous written reviews, that UNDONE's Cordura straps are some of my favorite Cordura straps. So it's a pretty nice strap, I would say overall. I should also highlight that there is a sign crown. You can see the Batman name etched there. It's a titanium buckle, by the way, so it's a very nice touch to match the case. Yeah, so overall I would say the specifications of the UNDONE Caped Crusader Batman watch is pretty decent. So one gets a titanium case, a Mecha-quartz chronograph movement, and a Cordura strap at about 300 USD. So that's a pretty good deal in my opinion. Now on to the aesthetics of the watch. Now being a tribute to Batman, it's supposed to be a commemorative watch, right? There's of course a lot of Batman inspired features. As you can see, this watch features a black and yellow color scheme. So again, if you think of Batman, the vintage logo the color scheme has always been black and yellow, right? So they incorporated that into this dial here. I would say it's very smartly, the yellow accents on this watch is very smartly incorporated. So you can see that the chronograph tachymeter scale is outlined in yellow. You have so the certain sub dials are outlined in yellow. You have a yellow second hand, a chronograph yellow second hand. And I don't know if you guys can see, but actually the number, let me see if I can find a nice angle. But the number 80 on the chronograph tachymeter scale here is actually in yellow, again to pay tribute to the 80th anniversary of Batman. Now of course what I particularly like is the chronograph sub dial on the left, where as you can see is made to resemble the vintage Batman logo of old. So it's a pretty nice and well executed watch, I would say. Now if I bring it closer to the camera, let me see if the camera can focus for a bit. Okay, I'm afraid this is the closer I can go. So you can, there's also a subtle radar function, like sort of patterning here, which I think is pretty cool in a sense, because it pays tribute to one of Batman's most iconic gadgets. So yeah, now moving on to the case itself. Oh, I should also highlight that because they use K1 crystal, there's a very nice, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a very nice sort of dome vintage effect, so that's pretty cool. Moving on to the case itself, of course, as I mentioned earlier, I'm very pleased and impressed by the blasted finishing that they have managed to achieve. It reminds me of the Bulgari Octofinissimo, no joke. And that's, of course, a watch at a much higher price point. So the finishing is pretty good. Unlike the previous collaboration watches, this actually comes in a new case. So the previous collaboration watches, for example, the Monopoly, the Peanuts watches, they all follow the case of the regular Undone urban chronographs. Here, however, Undone has innovated on case design, and they managed to develop this sort of square case with a round dial. It's reminiscent of some of the vintage chronographs of old, from Girard Perregaux, from Roger Dubuis. So I quite like the slight vintage touch that they have here, which of course is accentuated by the dome crystal. So yeah, I think the case design is pretty good. Onto the side, so as you can see here, there is a signed crown with the undone U. As like rather jagged edges here, so for good grip, as well as it resembles a gear. Again, the chronograph pushers are pretty solid. You can hear the satisfying click. Stop it again, and to reset it, you hear the very satisfying click and action overall. So I'm pretty impressed by that as well. Onto the case back, one is sort of an exhibition case back, so you can see the Mecha-quartz movement within. Of course, it's partially obscured by the Batman 80 years anniversary logo. I'm in a bit two minds for that. Of course, from an enthusiast standpoint, I would rather be able to see the whole movement. But then again, I quite like this 80th anniversary commemorative logo as well. Please pardon my pronunciation, but yeah, I quite appreciate this logo as well. It definitely adds to the collectability of the watch if you are a fan of Batman. So yeah, overall, I'll say I'm pretty impressed by the watch. It really does look very good on the wrist. So let me put it on the wrist and give you a quick wrist roll. So look at that. It looks pretty good on the wrist, doesn't it? The contrast is there. It really just pops. Yeah, it's a very impressive watch. Again, I've worn this out a couple of times. I've always gotten compliments on it. Now, if you're a fan of Batman or a fan of DC Comics, this is definitely the watch for you. Between this and the Dark Knight, personally I prefer this Caped Crusader edition because of the striking contrast in colors, the black and yellow scheme. The other one, as I mentioned, have a more shall we say minimalist or under the radar sort of look. So yeah, quite like it on the wrist here. And as you can see, it's pretty thin as well. And because of the titanium case, it really feels like nothing on the wrist. So it's a pretty cool watch to wear overall. One last thing that I would like to highlight is I really like, I don't know if you guys can see, but I really like the text at 12 o'clock. Let me see, the camera can focus here. I really like the text at 12 o'clock, which says Guardian of Gotham City. So that's a pretty cool touch. Personally, I'm a Batman fan myself. I watched all three of Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, and I played all the Arkham games, Batman Arkham PC games. So I'm a pretty big fan of Batman. I must say, as a Batman fan myself, he's easily one of my favorite, if not my favorite, superhero, at least from DC anyway. As a fan of Batman myself, I really like, the Batman watch. Collaborative watches often don't really turn out the best. They don't really have the best reputation. Think Bulgari and Ferrari, for example, or Girard Perregaux and Ferrari. It's not the best watches in the world, collaborative watches. But here, I think Undone paid really good tribute to Batman, or to the Knight of Gotham. And it's a watch that, at first I thought, when I heard the concept, that it would come out as pretty childish on the wrist, but it's actually very sensible and very mature overall. As an adult, I have no qualms wearing this whatsoever. It's a pretty cool watch, I must say. Now, if you're interested in the watch, you can, or in any other Undone watches, you can use the promo code Shiok for 10% off. After the 10% off, the Undone Caped Crusader can be had for about 310 USD, which is about 450 SGD. Which I think, if you're a fan of Batman, that is a small price to pay for really, 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 really stunning watch. So yeah, that ends my short hands-on review for today. I have another video review out tomorrow, so see you guys then. Have a great day.